Welcome back to our channel where we explore fascinating religious texts and delve into their intriguing narratives. Today, we have a captivating topic to discuss: Azazel, a mysterious figure mentioned in various ancient texts, including the Book of Enoch and the Apocalypse of Abraham. In this video, we'll uncover the enigmatic role of Azazel, his teachings, and the controversies surrounding his character. So, if you're ready to embark on this journey into the realms of ancient mythology and religious lore, let's dive right in. The name Azazel generates significant controversy across various texts of major religions. There are multiple interpretations and depictions of Azazel, ranging from an elusive specter receiving a sin-laden scapegoat from Aaron in Leviticus 16 verse 8, to the personification of evil and wickedness. Some consider Azazel to be a demon dwelling in the desert, controlling other goat demons, or even a leader of fallen angels mentioned in the Book of Enoch. In this video, I will examine and clarify the meaning of Azazel in different religious texts, presenting various beliefs surrounding this enigmatic entity. In the Bible, the term Azazel appears 3 times in Leviticus 16 verse 8, where 2 male goats are sacrificed by Aaron on the Day of Atonement. God provides specific instructions to Moses, instructing Aaron to mark 1 goat for sacrifice and another as the scapegoat. After the first goat is sacrificed to God, the second goat is kept alive, and Aaron is directed to place his hand on its head, transferring the sins of the Israelites through confession. The scapegoat, carrying the embodiment of all sins, is then taken to a remote place, usually the wilderness or desert, and released. Older versions of the Bible do not mention the term Azazel explicitly. However, modern translations like Leviticus 16 verse 8 indicate that Azazel is another entity, possibly the polar opposite of the biblical God and associated with evil. Therefore, Azazel receives the scapegoat laden with sin. Although Azazel does not reappear in the Bible, some rabbis speculate on the meaning of the name itself. They suggest that Azazel combines Az, meaning strong or rugged, and El, meaning God or of God. This interpretation implies that Azazel refers to the rugged cliff from which the goat was pushed, symbolizing casting away sins into the desert. In Jewish texts such as the Yoma, which focuses on the Yom Kippur or the Day of Atonement, Azazel plays a significant role. In the Enoch glitter and other Jewish religious texts rich with angels and demons, Azazel is portrayed as a prominent figure. The Book of Enoch, which describes the fall of angels known as the Watchers before the Great Flood, includes Azazel. The Watchers were angels tasked with overseeing humanity under God's instruction. However, in chapter 6 of the Book of Enoch, it is revealed that the Watchers lusted after mortal women, defied God's command, and decided to take them as wives. Azazel is not explicitly mentioned among the leaders of the Watchers in this account. The offspring of the Watchers and mortal women, known as the Nephilim, are mentioned in Genesis 6 verses 1 to 8, but the relationship between the sons of God or Watchers and mortal women is not elaborated. In the Book of Enoch, the Watchers are depicted as malevolent, ignoring warnings and corrupting humanity. Azazel is singled out for teaching mankind various skills, including weapon making and corrupting their ways. The mention and teaching of various subjects in the Book of Enoch is intriguing. Of particular interest is the emphasis placed on Azazel, who is given a more prominent and aggressive role in instructing mortals compared to the other angels. While the other angels discuss topics like plants, weather, astrology, and the earth, Azazel stands out as the only one who introduces mankind to tools of war and battle. He is also noted as the sole angel leading men astray, despite the other angels engaging in similar actions, albeit with less harmful subjects than weapons. Due to this significant and detrimental topic taught by Azazel, coupled with his mention at the beginning of the chapter, many speculate that he holds a leadership position among the Watchers, perhaps commanding the same respect as some Jaza. However, some dispute this belief, pointing out that Azazel is not originally mentioned in chapter 6 where the main body of Watchers is named. Nevertheless, others argue that it is in chapter 9 where Azazel achieves fame by being the only one to introduce warfare to mankind. In chapter 10, archangels Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel observe the destruction caused on earth by the actions of the Watchers. Interestingly, they quickly blame Azazel, stating to God, "Thou sayest what Azazel hath done, who hath taught all unrighteousness on earth and revealed the eternal secrets which were preserved in heaven." They also accuse some Jars of their crimes, asserting that Azazel held authority over the Watchers and should have known better. Furthermore, they remark that the Watchers have gone to the daughters of men, slept with them, and introduced various sins, resulting in the birth of giants and the corruption of the whole earth. In response, God sends Archangel Uriel to warn Noah about the impending destruction of the world. Archangel Raphael is tasked with binding Azazel hand and foot, casting him into darkness, and sealing him in a desolate place with rough and jagged rocks. Azazel's face is covered, and he is to remain there forever until the day of great judgment when he will be cast into the fire to heal the corrupted earth caused by the angels. Chapter 13 once again mentions Azazel, as Enoch, now established as a scribe, is instructed to reprimand the Watchers. Enoch tells them that they have wrought great destruction on earth and will have no peace or forgiveness of sin. He specifically singles out Azazel, declaring that he will have no peace and that a severe sentence has been issued against him, condemning him to eternal bonds and denying him any request for tolerance due to the unrighteousness he has taught. As the narrative progresses, Enoch describes witnessing a deep valley burning with fire in another part of earth. When he inquires about this to the angel of peace, he learns that the fire is being prepared for the host of Azazel, alluding to the ultimate fate of this fallen Watcher. In the third book of Enoch, also known as 3 Enoch, Rabbi Ishmael ascends to heaven and encounters God and his angels. One angel named Metatron, who is identified as Enoch, reveals that God saved him during the great flood and brought him to heaven. Metatron informs Rabbi Ishmael that when he arrived in heaven, Azazel was present alongside 2 other angels, Azza and Azazel, as mentioned in the Book of Enoch 3, 4, and 6. This seems to introduce a discrepancy in the text, suggesting that God allowed Azazel back into heaven at some point, contrary to his judgment and binding by Archangel Raphael. It implies that Azazel's subservience to Enoch, now in his angelic form, is absolute. Additional ancient texts, such as the Apocalypse of Abraham, shed further light on Azazel's portrayal. In this extra-canonical Jewish literature from the 1st century, Azazel is depicted as an unclean bird who disrupts a sacrifice performed by Abraham. The bird, identified as Azazel, urges Abraham to abandon the sacrifice and forsake the accompanying angel's guidance. The angel identifies the bird as Azazel and condemns him for choosing to dwell on earth, symbolizing his preference for wickedness. The angel asserts that while Abraham's destiny lies in heaven, Azazel's fate is tied to earth. The angel continues to admonish Azazel, stating that the heavenly portion once belonging to him has been transferred to Abraham, leaving Azazel with the mortality that was previously Abraham's. These accounts collectively suggest that Azazel held a significant role among the Watchers, teaching mankind destructive knowledge and leading them astray. Although initially judged and bound, there are indications that Azazel's status may have changed, allowing him back into heaven, albeit in a subservient position to Enoch. The various texts attribute a considerable amount of blame to Azazel for introducing sin and corruption to the world, particularly through his teachings on warfare and weapons. Connecting this with the Book of Enoch, we can understand that Azazel, once an angel, has been cast out and bound, as suggested in the Book of Enoch by Archangel Raphael. In his state of bondage, Azazel has become more like mortals, powerless and weak. Abraham takes his place, and an intriguing aspect of this narrative is that we do see Abraham sitting for sacrifice to God in Genesis 15 verse 11, and birds do descend upon the offering, seemingly to defile it. However, Abraham is not noted as driving them away, unlike Azazel, who is driven away in the Apocalypse of Abraham. Later, in chapter 23, Abraham ascends to heaven and witnesses the fall of Adam and Eve. During this encounter, he sees a mysterious entity with features resembling a serpent, but also possessing human-like hands, feet, and 6 pairs of wings. This entity stands behind the tree, as described in 23:7-8. Abraham questions God about the identity of these beings and the fruit they are eating. God explains that the one standing behind the tree represents ungodliness and the beginning of the path to perdition, identifying him as Azazel, the serpent who tempted Eve and was instrumental in the downfall of humanity. It is interesting to note that Abraham sees more than just the traditional depiction of the serpent. He also witnesses this winged being, possibly retaining some angelic features from its past as one of God's angels. In chapter 23:9-12, Abraham asks God about the mysterious entity and receives further explanations. Between chapters 28 and 32, God reveals to Abraham the judgment that humanity will face in the end times, and a figure known as the man, or the relief, will appear from the side of the pagans and be worshipped by them and even by Azazel himself. Abraham witnesses this man in a vision, where he is beaten, insulted, and struck. However, Abraham is most disturbed when he sees Azazel kissing the man's face and standing behind him. God explains that this man is the Messiah, sent by God to fight against his enemies and inspire hope and improvement in people. The Messiah seeks to gather followers who will worship and resemble him. Although Jesus is commonly referred to as the Messiah in biblical accounts, he is not explicitly named as such in the Apocalypse of Abraham. However, there is an interesting parallel with Judas betraying Jesus with a kiss in Luke 22 verse 48, similar to Azazel's act of supplying a kiss to the Messiah in the Apocalypse of Abraham. This suggests that the relief or the man in the Apocalypse of Abraham is indeed Jesus, and Judas represents Azazel. In the final chapters of the Apocalypse of Abraham, Azazel is mentioned again. God informs Abraham that the wicked in the end times will be consumed by the fire of Azazel, who is compared to a crafty worm. This serves as a sign of future events, where much of the world becomes tainted by evil, and many choose to follow Azazel in his wicked ways. It appears that God and Azazel become rivals, with God being good and Azazel representing evil. Azazel can be seen as comparable to Satan, or possibly another term used for Satan. It is worth noting that Azazel is not officially mentioned in the Quran, although some Islamic interpreters believe that Azazel, written as Azazel, was the name of the devil before his expulsion from heaven. There are various interpretations within Islamic faith, including the idea that Azazel was an archangel or a jinn, an evil spirit or demon. These interpretations suggest that Azazel had a hybrid nature combining angelic and jinn characteristics. Some theories propose that Azazel was an angel who lost his position due to his refusal to bow before Adam, while others suggest that he was originally a jinn who gained God's favor and was welcomed into heaven but later was cast out for not bowing before Adam. Another tale states that jinn were originally angelic creatures who descended to earth and became corrupted by their interactions with humans, similar to the concept of the Watchers in the Book of Enoch. Azazel is said to be one of these angels who turned away from the sinful ways of his companions and devoted himself to God. There are also diverse views on the name Azazel itself, with some scholars breaking down the phonics of the word and attributing symbolic meanings to each syllable. The arguments and disagreements regarding Azazel's nature and role in various religious texts have resulted in a wide range of interpretations and theories. In conclusion, Azazel is mentioned in numerous religious texts, mostly non-canonical, and interpretations vary. While some interpretations are based on solid religious sources, others seem to be fanciful fictions created by certain scholars and translators. It's essential to approach these accounts with critical analysis and consider the reliability of the sources. Thank you for watching. We hope you have gained insights into the Bible through this discussion. Please consider subscribing and clicking on the notification icon for future updates. Stay tuned for more episodes where we delve into critical issues found in the Bible.